Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I'm Dips, and today we're going to go through a roadmap for a mod pack I'm developing to rework the skinks. Unfortunately, there's no getting past it. The skinks are in a pretty terrible place right now. Stuck playing second fiddle to the Saurus, Cryswar, Slan, dinosaurs, the Slan riding the dinosaurs, just about the entirety of the roster to be completely honest with you. But it doesn't have to be this way. This mod pack aims to not necessarily make the skinks the overpowered Saurus stand-ins you occasionally see on the workshop, but to give them the independence and utility to keep them relevant throughout the entirety of the campaign. So you'll be happy to know, as of this video being released, there are currently 2 of the planned mods for this pack already done and dusted and linked down in the description. The first of which is a reskin of the 2 basic skink cohorts and the skink skirmisher. As you can see on the screen, I retextured the head and body, adding some feathers and desaturating the skin to increase their contrast. Also, they now have a very stylish, bone-curved weapon and a more detailed spear, giving them a lot more of an exotic look. The end goal was to make them a lot more vibrant and unique compared to the Saurus and Cryswar, and honestly, I'm very happy with the end result. The second completed mod is a new Tier 2 skink infantry unit. These guys are intended as a cheaper Saurus stand-in, for when you're either pinching pennies or aiming for a skink-heavy army. They lack the kind of armor piercing of the Saurus, and for the moment have anti-infantry damage, just to add a little bit of variety. In terms of looks, these guys have much more armor than the original skinks, but share some of the aspects of the reskin just for a bit of palette consistency. Notably, balancing for these guys is still very much in the works, so any and all feedback is much appreciated, and you can direct that to the Steam Workshop page. Right, now for the future editions. There are 4 major mods planned for the mod pack that will serve to fill the gaps in the lizardmen roster and to make skink heavy armies a lot more viable and flavorful. The first mod, and the one I'll be working on likely the soonest, is a tier 3 skink infantry unit. These guys are going to be the peak of skink infantry for the mod and be roughly equal to the Saurus in terms of stats. What's going to make them interesting, however, is their ability to passively buff nearby skinks, similarly how the longbeards do for the dwarves. As part of the mod pack, I want to keep the idea of the skinks being scrappy, asymmetrical fighters, relying heavily on skirmishing and stealth. So I'm trying to avoid having their front line being able to go toe-to-toe with elite units such as Temple Guard or Chosen. I was thinking of having 2 variants for these guys, one anti-large with a spear or halberd, and one with a great weapon, and each one of them having unique buffs. For example, the anti-large version might have a buff for increased mass or leadership, kind of for stopping cavalry charges and making the front line a bit more durable, while the great weapon might have extra melee attack and armor piercing buffs for uptrading into elite infantry. I really only want these guys to be numbering 3 or 4 in a single army, utilizing their relatively high speed to counteract key targets and move around the battlefield to where they're needed most. For looks, I was thinking of making them slightly bigger than the red-crested skinks, with some more ornamental pieces on the model, probably moving away from just the feathers I've been using currently. Again, for the passive buffing and effects on these guys, always happy to have some suggestions in the comments. The second mod, while not technically limited just to skinks, is still what I think would be a very cool addition, and that is adding faction-wide battle abilities similar to the 4 Chaos Gods. So much how Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, and Tzeentch have their 3-tiered bar on the right side of their screen, I'm going to try and create one for the lizardmen, which is themed around the Great Plan. While what it actually does is a little bit up in the air, some cool ideas I've been bouncing around were from Tehennowyn's Engine of the Gods mount, the giant orbital laser cannon, as possibly a tier 3 or 4, and maybe making a unit temporarily unbreakable, similar to the Kislev passive, as maybe a tier 1 or 2. Now if anyone here is real big on the lore of Warhammer, especially the lizardmen, I would love to hear from you in the comments, because I think there's some great thematic potential kind of around with this idea. And that's that. Oh, yeah. If you have good eyes, you've probably noticed that some of these on the screen haven't been addressed yet. And that's for the simple reason there is absolutely no point in me pouring my imagination out into the abyss if no one is interested. So, if this channel gets to 25 subscribers and we get 15 likes on this video, I'll release part 2. And a bit of a sneak peek for that, we'll be looking at some new units, the complicated matter of the Cryswar, and perhaps even a new hero planned. Again, if you have any tidbits of lore you'd like to share, or suggestions for changes, extra units, or effects, please feel free to leave a comment down below. If any of this does sound interesting and you'd like to playtest, please do subscribe, so I'll be smashing out some community posts for early releases. Lastly, leaving a like lets me know if people are interested in this kind of thing, so it's always appreciated. Thank you very much for watching.